This is David with Corel Training.
This is Cassie Green from Apparelist.
This is Gordon and Firemark from the Entertainment Law Update.
And you're listening to
Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by Terry Combs RG, Regular Guy, and Aaron Montgomery.
The place to be for industry news.
the best dad jokes on earth, along with relevant topics to apparel decorating.
Prepare for the wild.
All right, welcome into the show. It is Friday, December 20th, 2024. I'm Terry Combs. You can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery from our Success Group, and I coach business owners away from stress and anxiety towards clarity and confidence. And today's right in my wheelhouse, Terry. This is exciting stuff. We're going to be talking about planning for 2025. This is like Christmas for you and I, right? Like
Exactly.
we're such planning geeks that
Right.
this definitely fits right into my mission of equipping business owners with the fundamentals. Got to put the book up there, right? So, and I am reading Beer Bait and Barbecue, by the way. Good book.
All right, vampires are real, you know.
That's what I'm learning.
All right. Be sure and stay to the very end for the secret sauce. Eric's going to be joining us live to serve up 5 exercises to keep you inspired in embroidery and to keep you building up your core skills. So always great information from Eric.
Always great information. I need to work on my core, so this is good. Probably different than what he's talking about, but that's
Probably this close to Christmas, not the best idea. Maybe January.
okay. All right. Maybe January. Got it. All right. Well, Terry, we've got a lot of stuff to cover today. We're going to kind of go over what we talked about last year, kind of see where that's at. And then we've got a whole new batch of things that we can be looking at for planning for 2025. This is an annual show that we do. So it's always fun to try to come up with new things, but I think we've got a pretty good list going here. And our good friend Marcia Derryberry is outside freezing her butt off for us. So let's get her in here so she can go warm up. But she's got some breaking news along with some other news that they've been reporting on. So if you're ready, Terry, let's bring Marcia in.
Let's do it.
Happy holidays, decorators. Guess who? You know, I'm always somewhere super exotic like the Denver airport, but I thought I'd stay home this time. So I'm in the frozen tundra of North Texas. And I have breaking news, which is not on our website or online yet because it just literally got the press release about 20 minutes ago. It's a rumor we've all probably heard the speculation on. I did know it was true, but we couldn't report on it till we got something official. So it is a fact that Graphic Solutions Group, GSG, is going to be acquired by Grimco. This all is a move by this corporate behemoth to expand their presence in the apparel decorating market across all decorating and printing processes, wide format sign, digital screen, embroidery, sublimation, everything. So just to read a few quotes from the press release, like I said, this is being posted right now and it'll go out on our socials. But we believe Grimco to be the perfect partner to ensure that our customers continue to receive the products and services they've come to rely on, explains GSG CEO Mark Granberry. This acquisition was a strategic decision for us, knowing that Grimco has always respected GSG as a competitor, and their commitment to the industry serves them as an ideal choice to carry forward the legacy. Following the acquisition, GSG will operate as a separate company for 9 months. During that time, customers won't see a disruption in service. They can continue placing orders through their usual channels, phone, person, online, just as they've always done. Eventually, GSG will be fully integrated into Grimco, aligning both companies' operations to enhance services and product offerings. So look for the full story coming up on screenprintingmag.com, bigpicturemag.com, and signsofthetimes.com. It's actually up on Signs of the Time right now, and our digital team is working on the other ones. More corporate moves. That's kind of what my news is about while we're waiting on some product news and innovations to come out in preparation for the Long Beach show. But our friends at SNS Activewear have announced a new CFO. Pablo Mercado is taking over the role he did as of November 25th. It was a comprehensive search, and he has more than 24 years of leadership in finance. He's going to manage SNS's finance and accounting operations, serving as a key member of the executive team. His duties will encompass driving strategic growth, crafting future oriented financial strategies and enhancing operational effectiveness. And so then along those lines, our friends at Corneat are also expanding their executive leadership team. And this was designed to accelerate the digital transformation and focus on customer service. So industry veteran Chris Carson has been named Vice President of Sales for North America, and Kyle Garner steps in as the new Regional Sales Director of North America. And I had the fortune of getting an online exclusive interview with them just yesterday afternoon. So this is up on our website right now. And Corneat says they're investing deeply in customer success, helping them improve operations and expand business opportunities, and recognizing the transformative impact of integrating digital printing solutions into traditional workflows. They're equipping its team to deliver unparalleled support to innovative customers to lead the industry. So these guys have worked together both at Xerox and at HP for over 30 years. So they come from the commercial print world, but have done a lot of due diligence and learning a lot about direct to fabric and direct to garment. So look for some exciting things happening at Long Beach as we watch the industry continue to transform. Now, I got to get back to me because I'm hurrying as I always do because I talk a million miles an hour, but I have a little Christmas surprise before we say goodbye, which is why I'm out here in my parka because really it's Texas and it's like 60 degrees, but I'm a baby, but my eyes are watering. So bear with me. That's why I've got my new puffy coat on. I've always wanted a puffy coat. I just got one. But with the innovation of digital technology integrating itself into traditional screen printing and other decorating technologies, we're all going to be looking more towards DTF, UV DTF, UV inks, traditional transfers. So 60 years later, over Thanksgiving, I was with a dear friend of mine who I worked with on impressions for 35 years. Many of you know her. And she gave me a t-shirt she bought 60 years ago in 1974 when she was a senior in high school. And it's interesting that our industry, started with the beach kiosks and the plastisol heavy screen printed T-shirts that you could transfers that you could take a bullet on. And now we've always had transfer, but it's becoming a lot transfer centric with all of the innovations across the transfer category. So here she is. Oh, that's a horrible angle. But look at Sarah. Now, this is not the red bathing suit photo, and I'm freezing my booty off. This is not the red bathing suit photo, which was the first cover of one of the industry's magazines, which our friend Scott Fresner has the original of. But I'm so excited to actually have a vintage 60-year-old t-shirt. So thank you, Janine. Y'all have a great holiday. I will see you on the flip side in Long Beach, and I'll talk to you in a couple weeks when it's my turn again.
The 70s.
That's
That was
awesome. Yeah, very cool that she shared that with us. Yeah. Farrah Fawcett. I love it.
We for our listeners, just before we went on the air, Marcia said, "Oh, and I have a surprise at the end." We're like, "What?"
We trust Marcia though, so it's all good. And what a cool surprise! Yeah, that is awesome. We'll have to ask Scott about that original one that Marcia mentioned. So very cool. Now,
go ahead. Aaron. I always thought that that Amazon would in fact become Skynet, but apparently it's Grimco.
Grimco. Well, I was going to ask, speaking of the Grimco news there, so how does that change so a lot of listeners probably aren't aware of this, but if you're on the exhibitor side of the hall, a lot of times before a trade show, something happens in the GSG booth, Terry, and we've kind of poked fun at them over the years, but hey, it's cool that they have a ritual where they kind of gather around as a sales team and put their hands in and they go GSG and they make a big cheer like they're starting a sporting event, right? And so my curiosity is, does that tradition continue under the Grimco arm?
Yeah, because it doesn't flow like GSG. And of course, I'm the guy from our booth yelling, "Yeah, you know me."
Yes. There you go. Eric in the private chat was saying I was waiting for the mention of the GSG chant. So
That's awesome.
All right. Well, Marcia, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for freezing. I know you said it's not that cold, but hey, you're still outside in the wintertime. So
I
Appreciate you doing
I
that.
thought it was like a Hallmark Christmas movie thing she was gonna do because there's always some reporter out in the Christmas tree lot in, you know, in Christmas Valley reporting live.
Oh man, that's too funny. All right. Well, we are in the holiday spirit here, Terry. So I think we need a dad joke,
I think
don't
we
you?
do. I think we
Okay.
do.
All right, let's do it. All right, Terry. Why was the letter E the only letter to receive a gift from Santa?
I don't know. Why did the letter E get a gift?
Well, the rest of the letters were naughty. Not.
For our
Thank you.
podcast listeners, Eric is right now doing not dash E and then naughty.
Naughty. So we do have to thank Ramona McKee for that dad joke. She sent it over to me. And so thank you, Ramona. Appreciate you sending that over. Terry, we have a bonus dad joke. I don't know if you want to deliver this one since I got to deliver the other one.
Sure, I'll deliver the bonus one. You ready?
Yep.
During Christmas, there are only 25 letters in the alphabet. Were you aware of this, Aaron?
I didn't know that. Wow. Huh.
Yeah, because no L. And for our podcast listeners, Eric is translating NO-L and then Noel.
Yeah. I threw that one in there last minute, but I figured, it's that time of year, so we'll get that in there. All right. Well,
Love
thank
it.
you,
Love it.
everyone, for playing along, having some fun with us here this morning. For our podcast listeners, I have my Santa hat on. We're feeling very festive today, for sure.
Nice. Oh, but my point of reference, Skynet. If we've gotten too far away from that reference, look it up. Terminator,
Okay.
Skynet.
There we go. Good.
All right. Before we dive in, Aaron, for the last time this year, we want to thank everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We still need your voices. We would love to have more of the regulators participate in our show intros. Go to decorators.ink./intro. Read a few sentences and be a part of the show. Don't be left out. We are always looking for new guests. So if you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2, the number 2, regular guys, to book a future episode or email us at info@tworegularguys.com with your show ideas. If you are listening to the podcast version of our show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys, easy for me to say, right? The Two Regular Guys podcast with your industry friends so they can become regulators too. We would appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcast, YouTube Podcast, wherever you do your podcast listening. We are there, and we would love to have a review. And if you're watching us live right now, please join in with your comments and your questions and your ideas for the coming year, 2025.
Absolutely. Speaking of those that are joining live, yeah, definitely go out there and share that, and let's get some more perspective in here. But Chuck was in right away saying good morning, so we appreciate him tuning in. And then we've got Doug tuning in. Hi, everyone from West Hills, Los Angeles. Doug, real quick, you had asked about links to the people from the Reggies. And I've got the show from the Reggie Awards up on our website over there at number 2, as Terry would say, tworegularguys.com. And I did all the winners. I put a link to how you could find them, either like a LinkedIn or their webpage or whatever. So if you'll go over there to tworegularguys.com, you should be able to pull that up and get connected to all those folks. So I appreciate you asking that, Doug. Definitely good. And then we've got Sheila Ryan. Oh, yeah, there you go. Thank you, Eric. Look at that, man. I didn't even tell Eric about that. That was kind of a last minute thing. And yet he still manages to get it on screen. What an amazing guy. Sheila says, good morning. Good morning, Sheila. Thank you for being here this morning. Well, Terry, let's dive into this, right? Like I said, this is kind of a big area for us. I think I don't know, for whatever reason, I just really get a ton of enjoyment out of looking big picture, planning, thinking ahead. Sometimes the slog of actual day-to-day stuff actually is where I struggle a little bit. I know you've got a pretty good handle on both ends of that, but through your years of experience in the industry and whatnot, this was a big part of what you did every year, right? Just kind of
Absolutely.
how can we think differently, right?
Well, yeah, and this week between Christmas and New Year's, most of us, our businesses are pretty slow, and what a great time to kind of look back and look forward and things that it's the perfect time of year to make changes and plan for the coming year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this is our 12th year doing this show. So
Well into our 12th year.
yeah, yeah, well into our 12th year. And this show specifically, I think this was also around the Reggies where we started doing the planning for the next year show after the Reggies, if I recall that
Yeah.
being correct. So you could go back. It's all in our on our website there at tworegularguys.com. You can go back and see all of them and pull, and I'm sure you'll find some duplicates, but what
I was
I did
I was just thinking that you don't need to message us and say, in 2019, you gave the exact same recommendation.
yes, that's right. We understand there may be some duplicates, but I think the part that I also enjoy, right, is a little bit of the looking back as to what we did last year, how maybe our mindset has changed or different thinking. Like I've got one that I know is kind of an add-on to last year's idea that I shared and stuff like that. So why don't we start there? Why don't we look back at what we talked about last year and maybe just hit some of the main key points? We don't need to discuss them
Yeah.
all in depth, but does that sound like a good place to start, Terry?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Well, I'll start. My first one last year was, we were coming out of a difficult period in everybody's lives. So I
Yeah.
said to stop and take a deep sigh of relief. You made it through the worst business interruption in decades, and basically, I talked about how you can use that experience in 2024, the coming year, and
Yeah.
beyond. What did we learn about our businesses? What helped keep our business afloat?
Yeah.
Basically, how can we prepare for something like this happening again, and what good came from it? Because a lot of businesses changed the way they did business, and when things went back to normal, they said, that change was good. I'm going to keep moving forward with
Yeah.
this method of doing business. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, a lot of good can come out of that. I remember you last year talking about, that, like you said, the changes that occur, diversifying your technology, diversifying your customer base, that type
yeah.
of thing. So I think really good way to kind of look and then look ahead to what was in store in 2024. So that's awesome, Terry. So for me, the first thing I talked about last year was kind of this idea. I was channeling my inner Cassie Green, and
Right.
I just, sustainability is one of those things that I think we talk about, and and maybe when I say I think we, it's more like I got a mouse in my pocket. I think I talk about, and maybe don't take enough action on, and so just kind of understanding the priority changes and the shifts, and that maybe it's time to really kind of see what we can do each individually. And we had a couple of great shows with Cassie and Gary to give us some ideas about ways to turn it from just a buzz marketing term into a bit more of what our businesses are all about. Just kind of that demand for more transparency with that ethically produced apparel. I know got a lot more traction in 2024. And I think as business owners, we have to look at our companies individually, right? Because one company, it could be kind of what they're based on. Another company, it could be like, okay, my customers don't really care about that necessarily, or at least I don't believe they do. But I think each and every one of us can make those changes. And I was excited to hear from Gary and Cassie about, some real practical tips that people could implement right away. So I guess maybe not planning, but like if you're going, okay, maybe I didn't get on that boat as much as maybe I could have last year. What are the opportunities to reduce waste, source better, kind of become a little more eco-conscious in your production methodologies and processes? I would highly recommend that people go back and take a listen to a couple of those shows that we had with Cassie and Gary. I think that would be a great place to start.
Well, and the Reggie Awards just further emphasizes what you brought up last year at this time, and with Caesar, coming out with the biodegradable, I don't want to say vinyl, but cup material that, and I'd never heard of it, Darren. You'd experienced that product, but
Mhm.
everybody's taking it to heart, and also Cassie talking to us about what a huge percentage of what's in landfills is apparel, and let's not make throwaway apparel.
Yeah.
Let's sell products that people want to keep. It's
Yeah.
like my example was, we have Arizona Cardinals season tickets, and the T-shirt cannon, shooting
Yeah.
up hundreds of T-shirts, and I like to say I caught one, but it actually fell between my feet as I was coming down the aisle with 2 beers in my hand. and
You're that guy going, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do."
well, somebody reached for it, and I had it wedged between my feet. But I've never put that shirt on. It's just a throwaway. They probably paid $2 for it. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. Real quick, Ramona said, "Good morning, everyone." Ramona, by the way, we utilized your dad joke if you missed that early on. So thank you once again. But she mentioned your customers might care. You just don't know. Ask, offer, you might be surprised. And then she follows that up with encourage upcycling, take older garments and make them new again, right? Like, yeah, the t-shirt quilts, or I mean, there's all sorts of cool things that you can do with things and to get a little more life out of them. So, all right, Terry, what was your next one?
my next one was it's time to implement 5215 training, and that's kind of my thing. And in my production shops, I always take the first 15 minutes every Monday and never on a Friday because we're too busy to do our training. But first thing Monday, 15 minutes to talk about one subject. Let's talk about squeegees. Let's talk about screen mesh and and the result of that, and of course, every week, 52 weeks, 15 minutes of training,
Yeah.
You'll have the best trained staff in town. And I just say, it's time to implement that and have that staff that when somebody leaves, you have somebody that could step right into that spot because everybody's been cross trained. And um, Aaron, you and I are big nerds about training as well,
Yep.
planning and training. So this is true every year. Plan to training shop, and it will greatly benefit you and your employees.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely crucial. And, I love the fact that last year you recommended people go to the Secret Sauce archives because like, I think that is what keeps some people from training. Like I don't have time to
Where do I
put together.
start?
Yeah, where do I start? I need a presentation, blah blah blah. No, it, this 15 minutes I think is just let's have a topic, let's talk about it. Let's talk about why we do that in our business, right? So I
Yeah.
think the secret sauce videos are perfect. If you do screen printing, go pull up all Terry's secret sauce videos. If you do embroidery, go pull up all Eric's secret sauce videos. If you want to talk to your management team, pull up my secret sauce. If you've got an art department, Dane's got stuff in there. So we've got, I don't know, 50 more secret sauces now since you brought that up, right?
Yeah.
And so we try to keep up with you guys.
and that's a perfect guide for doing a training.
Yep. Rena, good morning and happy holidays to you. Appreciate you tuning in. And then Doug mentioned, I got many requests to have me make t-shirt quilts. I'm a quilter, but no longer doing quilting for hire. If you've got those requests, I don't know. You got to listen to your customers. But anyhow, okay. Are you ready to go on to the next one here, Terry?
Yeah. What was your next one?
Shiny objects got me. So, customer centric approach, Terry, was my next one. Just, again, kind of with sustainability, at what point is it time to stop with the lip service and start really, truly, right? Like you've talked about over and over on this show, Terry, the minimum requirement, do good work, deliver on time. Right. But I think a lot of companies, that's like, oh, this is why I'm so great. I do good work and I deliver on time. And we're like, that's minimum requirement, right?
Right. That's your starting point.
Yeah, exactly. What makes you stand out, right? And we talked about how this is an election year, lots of unrest in the world, and I know a lot of companies. Like I work with some folks that have Etsy shops, and most of the people that were on Etsy this year, if your sole focus was Etsy sales, your sales were down 30 to 40%. Right.
Wow.
And so it's like, why do customers buy from you? Really get clear about that. And what are those reasons? Because then you're not beholden, like if Etsy sales are flat for you, okay, well, what's another way to go? Right. How can I've been working with these customers, so their customers are there. They're not going anywhere. It's just Etsy's changed things, and therefore I've got to change things in my business. And so I think if you're focused on being customer centric, making those adjustments can be a lot easier because you know what your customers want, right? So that was the kind of the point that I was trying to make last year.
Yeah, and everything changes. Well, when we started off talking about COVID, that the way we do business has to be fluid, and so focus on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
My next one was take a look back at your 2023 expenses, compare them with 2022 and beyond, and you know everything costs more now. We can't expect inflation to turn into deflation, so just kind of take a look at it. Because sometimes we're just writing checks and paying bills, or going online and paying bills without taking a step back, going, maybe we can tighten up on this thing or that thing, and and here's the most important part of this part of the conversation was, how does this impact what we're charging? And so, if nothing changes, I probably mentioned this last year. There's a company that raised prices during the COVID years 5 times in about 18 months, but they prefaced it with, we haven't increased our prices in like 7 years. And I thought, you know what? And here's what you're doing now with all these price increases. You're playing catch up. You went back and looked at your expenses and realized we're selling the same amount and making less money every year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
take a look. And
Yeah.
again, all this, Aaron, is something I wrote about, an article about years ago when I was a consultant, and the article was, be your own consultant.
Yeah.
Take a step back, take some time to review everything about your business, and get a fresh start into 2025.
Yeah, I love that. And real quick, Terry, I'd love to, those that are tuned in live right now, and we're amongst friends, there's no judgment here at all, but who has raised their prices since in last year, right? And if you're willing to share, how much, right? Because I spent, I think it was 6 times at least at the Graphics Pro Expos. I think I did my pricing for profit webinar 7 times this year. And one of the things that I shared in that program was, if you take anything from this, go raise your prices tomorrow, Monday, right? Whatever. And like, I got these stares of death, like I was telling them to sacrifice their children. But we talked about that, right? Like we've got it. So it's a lot of times, there we go. So Rena, good job. On average, 10% raise of prices. Thank you, Rena. Because looking at your expenses doesn't always mean to go reduce your expenses. In fact, I think we try to do that first and foremost. And sometimes that causes us a bigger issue than, oh, well, I cut my cost on this thing, but you don't realize how much that's costing you down the road, ruined products, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Where if you're realizing that your expenses are out of line with your income, your best bet is to raise prices and then to get more business. And then the last thing is to cut your expenses, because it's going to take a little bit more. Like, let's make sure that if I cut my expenses on this, that it's not actually, cutting off my nose later on down the road. So,
Right, exactly. And electricity, gas, insurance, everything is up, and it's difficult to cut the expense of your electricity. So you have to allow for that in your pricing.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, Terry, I'm sitting here looking at in the mirror while I'm thinking about this. So 2025 for me is going to be a massive change. People that are part of our success group now, they're not going to feel that. But if you're thinking about it, I would recommend reaching out to me this week, because we're making a pretty massive increase next year. And I go, and man, I'm telling all these people to do this, and am I actually following my own advice? And I said I had to have that hard look in the mirror and go, you're not really. So let's go. Let's do this.
Awesome. All right. Well, what's next for you?
Yeah. So next for me, we talked about being a goal getter, and just what the difference between a goal getter and a goal setter is. Really kind of being very specific is one of the main differences. Not trying to, we set these goals, and then we kind of like this big goal that we set, and then we just hold on to that thing, and we got, how do I get from here to there? And then it feels overwhelming and impossible and all this other stuff. And so a goal getter changes that mindset and goes, okay, I got that big goal out there. That's awesome. That's a North Star. It's a magnet. I'm letting go of it. I'm not judging my success or failure on if I've reached that goal or not yet. I'm going, now, what can I do today that'll get me closer? And my success or failure is based on the actions that I'm taking, not on the results that I'm getting. And then the big thing that I will probably talk about more today is just sharing it with others. What are your goals, right? What's the, what are you trying to accomplish? Because a couple things happen when we put that out into that, we make that public declaration. People are going, oh, I could help Terry with that. Yeah, I know somebody that could help with that, right? So we start getting these resources that we never knew were possible. And then secondly, I've now built in accountability for myself, right? Like I kept telling everybody over and over, I was finishing the book. And I don't think I would have been able to do that if I didn't kind of make that public declaration all along, because I go, you know what? I care about what Terry thinks about me, what Eric thinks about me, what the regulators think about me. And I'd like to accomplish this just to make sure that I do what I said I was going to do. Right. And again, sometimes we have to renegotiate, and that's okay. But I think in that public declaration, there's a lot of value. So again, I could talk about that forever, Terry.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Can we, before you get to your next one here, sure. Terry, just want to get Eric, sorry, not Eric. We'll get to Eric in 1 second. Ramona said, I feel my base price is still good, but I did increase my large ticket items to be more in line with the base. There you go. And then Eric shared, by the way, don't cut marketing first. Spend the time, money, and effort to sell. So many people cut marketing budget time first. That's a really good point, Eric. And then Sheila mentioned, I didn't raise prices this year, but I've worked on raising my average order, and that's been really good. Awesome. So getting creative with ways to manage that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And then one more comment, Terry, and then I'll get out of the way here. Ramona says, I agree. The marketing is the communication with your client. You cut that and you cut your client's reach. Good stuff there. Okay. What was your next one, Terry?
My next one was cut your losses, processes, employees, equipment, customers. In the area of employees, we tend to focus on the problem employees and not on the people that are there every day at their workstation, ready to go. Rarely call in sick. So sometimes you just need to kind of clear the decks a little bit, and I'm sure I don't have it written down here, but I'm sure the example I gave last year was a decorator I know in Maryland, that every year he gets his management team together and they talk about which of their customers they want to fire. Yep. And so, it's that whole thing. The 80% of our issues with customers is this one customer who is never happy and is super demanding. And so this guy, he literally calls, a handful of customers and says, we've got some big orders that we're dealing with this coming year. We're not going to be able to continue doing decorating for you. And let me recommend a couple of folks, and it's usually somebody he doesn't really care for. But, but anyway, cut your loss. Think about that.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, that's so good, Terry. It's sometimes I learned this when I was probably in my early 20s, maybe late teens, and I was working with my dad's company, and he was building log homes in this tiny little town in Colorado at the time. And we would have these people come, with these grand requests. You got to have it done by this time or that time. And he would say no, and he would just cut. Right. And so I think that's kind of what you're talking about. Like sometimes it's saying no and cut it because a couple things happen. A, that opened up space to work with the people that you want to work with. But B, a lot of those people that were all demanding and you got to do this way would go, oh, they said no to me. Okay, well, I'll fix my needs and I'll be more easy to work with. And we still ended up doing business with those people. Right. And so sometimes it's just a balancing act a little bit there.
Yeah,
But it's hard.
you've taken charge of that relationship.
Yeah. All right. Well, last thing I shared last year was talking about your support system and really, who are you surrounding yourself with? We talked about the top five. If you are honest with yourself, the 5 people you spend the most time with, you're the average of that. And so we need to be intentional about that. And that's not just right, like the 5 people you're physically spending the most time with, but like the things that you're listening to. If you've got the news on in the background all day, you might want to rethink that a little bit. I'm not saying, Terry, I think you probably do a little bit of that, and so I'm not calling you out, but you understand that, right? And you can manage that expectation. And so just being intentional about who you surround yourself with, who you're, if you want a good dad joke, you come to the 2 regular guys. You want to learn about the industry, you come to the 2 regular guys, right? So that those types of things. And then we talked about mastermind programs and just investing and Facebook groups and how, I don't know how many you're in, Terry, but I like to purge at the end of the year. I mean, sure. I don't necessarily purge per se, but I turn off notifications and be intentional about that and only get the notifications and the ones that I'm feeling valued and valued to me. So,
right. Well, in my defense, I normally this time of year give up the news for Hallmark Christmas movies, and I'm not embarrassed by that.
Good for you. And like I said, I'm not calling you out, but it's about being intentional about that, right? So if you're finding yourself frustrated and upset and the sky is always falling, then maybe look to what you're feeding yourself there, so to speak, in the information world. And Terry obviously is not that type of guy, so it's okay for him. Always happy, man. That's what most people, one of the many things people love about you, Terry.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Well, so I think we covered everything that we covered last year. So obviously thinking about that and how you can implement that. And so we wanted to dive into some new areas, but Terry, before we do that, I just want to, we're excited for a lot of different reasons about 2025, but we're going to kick off the year with a sponsor. You've heard us talk a little bit about them, and I'll share a little bit more about them here in just a moment. But if you're somebody that would like to get a little more reach into the apparel world, Grimco, for example, please check out our sponsor page. If you'll head over to 2regularguys.com/sponsorship, you can see if there's a program that might be right for you. We've got a sponsor locked in for the first part of 2025 right now, and we're very grateful for that sponsor. In fact, you guys got to meet Tony. I think it's now been a couple months, actually, Terry, if I recall, right? Maybe a month or 2 at least. And so Promo Hunt is his company. And so if you are somebody that is selling decorated apparel, i.e. all of our listeners, I would guess, or many, 99% of our listeners, then chances are you're constantly at suppliers' websites like Sanmar, Alpha Broder, SNS, Activewear, and you're comparing prices and inventories and when is it going to get here and all that other stuff. And so Tony's created this software as a service that called Promo Hunt, and you can get your time back and you no longer need to compare prices the hard way. It is a free browser extension. So if you go to promohunt.com/apparel, when you're on a supplier's website, Promo Hunt will automatically compare your prices with all the suppliers that you've logged into through their program, and it'll let you know if you can save. And you're only one click away from being able to see all your prices and inventory on one screen. Promo Hunt also shows some other helpful information automatically, like similar product ideas, suppliers' phone numbers, if there's any exclusive offers available. And not only can you look at your apparel, but obviously, if you're doing any promotional products, you can link into a lot of those things. And so, tons of really cool stuff. It helps save you time and money, and finding great buys quickly. And as I mentioned, it's completely free. So if you want to join thousands of other decorators who use Promo Hunt every day to save time and money, again, just visit promohunt.com/apparel, and you can sign up in less than 60 seconds, Terry. So I don't know if I know you don't do a lot of direct stuff per se yourself, but
Right.
I
Absolutely.
actually signed up for it just to kind of see
Really
it.
cool. It's
Yeah.
very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, for sure. So
And as he said, my mother asked me every day why it's free.
that was pretty funny. Yeah. So no, it's really cool stuff, and I think they've got big plans for it, and so yeah, take advantage of it while it is free, and jump in there. And he said that the plan is to keep that part of it always free. So I think that's pretty.
Yeah, it's
All
very
right.
cool. Very
Well,
cool. I was super impressed when he was demonstrating it for us. So,
Yeah.
are you ready to jump into 2025 before this becomes a two-parter?
Yeah, that's right. Let's do it.
All right, I'll start.
Okay.
And I'm gonna credit Jay Bassell with this, because during COVID, this was something that he was promoting to help people get business when they couldn't get face to face with their customers. So
Mhm.
it's to build business for 2025. You can build a promotional package for like neighboring businesses that has personalized garments or promotional items with that company, their logo, not yours.
Mhm.
And uh, basically, here's what's possible. And Aaron, I'll go back to when I first started as a screen printer. When I had downtime, I would pick out businesses in town
Yeah.
and actually grab their logo, print an item or two, and just walk in the door and say, "I wanted to introduce myself to your company, and here's what we do," and hand them a shirt that had their logo on it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that at some point in time I would have failed at that, but every single time I did that, I got some kind of an order. 100% success rate with it, and
Wow.
I was actually shocked by it myself. So to build business, go out there and invest not a lot of money into one of these packages, and you can send them out or knock on a door today and share it. But um, you can also tell those customers, I can do a package like this for you to send to your customers. So I think it's a great way to promote your company, get new business, maybe send it to your customers you have now with some other items that you offer
Yeah.
with their logo on it. And you'll get the, oh, I didn't know you did hats. Oh, I didn't know you did this product or that product.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to increase sales. And I am the poster child for this, because it was a great way for me to build business during my down periods. So
I love that. What a great idea, Terry, and I appreciate you sharing that. I'm actually doing some consulting work right now for a company, and so I'm basically interviewing some of their customers for them to help them understand their customers a little bit better, and figure out what they need to change going forward in the future to better align with their customer needs.
yeah,
And so I've had a couple of calls already. We've got more scheduled into the new year here. But one of the big things that stood out was they just didn't know all of the, like, man, I wish they did this. And I'm going, well, I know they do that. So, I'm not there to solve that. I'm sending them the information. But the whole time I'm just thinking, man, it's just a lack of communication here, right? It's a lack of being
yeah.
willing to do something like Terry just suggested. Go out there, show them things, and like you said, use your downtime to build your business up. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
How
Cool.
about yours?
Okay. I would, and this might align actually really well with your 5215 idea, but I would say implement a weekly business health check-in. So, and like I said, I think this could flow really nicely. You do the 5215, and then right after it, you just have a quick health check-in. I don't know if you remember this. It was a little too late to save things, but at US Screen, right at the very end, we started doing that kind of KPI report, like what's in the pipeline, stuff like that, like just looking at some of the key metrics. And so everybody would be responsible for their area and just bring a couple of key metrics to kind of be able to gauge the health of, like, production efficiency, customer satisfaction. If you've got employees, what are any challenges there? And if you can just build that habit, you'll start noticing that you're able to proactively address issues before they become this major, oh my gosh, hair on fire, put everything down. You're just ticking off little things as you go because you're very aware of the health of your business. And I think even for solopreneurs, this is something that can be very valuable for them, Terry, because it's just an opportunity to every week, right? So for me and my business, every week, I just kind of look back on the week ahead and say, what can I change? What can I do better next week? Not what should I have done? And then, but from that place, I can go, okay, yep, I need to update this process, this system, this way of thinking. And those small tweaks along the way are what actually build up to success, not these big, huge jumps, right? Like I said, oh my gosh, we got a major problem, hair's on fire, we got to try to fix it. It's those are band-aids typically, right? It's the small incremental changes that you make that will lead to that. And this health check-in will I think give you the opportunity for that.
Well, yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in the day to day that, and having certainly if you have a management group or maybe there are 5 of you at the company, just to talk things over so that you're going to find things that you didn't realize were going awry
Yeah.
or yeah. So that's a great idea. That's a great recommendation.
Thank you.
All
What's
right.
next?
My next one is time for a trade show.
Mm.
And Aaron, I know you've experienced this. I'm always so surprised when I meet decorators who tell me they've never been to a trade show. I had somebody come up to me at a trade show booth a few years ago. Well, what do you guys do? And it was at US Screen. And what do you guys do? And I'm like, you've never heard of US Screen? No. And I've been in business for 20 years. And I'm like, you've never seen us at a trade show? Oh, this is the first trade show I've ever been to. I thought, you've been in this business for 20 years and you didn't go to a trade show?
Wow.
Because, and now, Aaron, more than ever, tons of new technology, tons of new products post COVID, and over the past couple of years. So you need to plan to go to the show this year and see what's new, touch and feel it, talk to somebody face to face. And I always say go with a plan of what you want to see. You can, and gosh, all the trade shows now have websites that are going to give you, here's who's here, here's what they're showing, and go with a plan and check it off. Make sure that you get around to see everybody that you need or want to see. And if you are taking staff, and when I was at Jones and Mitchell Sportswear in Kansas City, I would at least one trade show a year. I would take 5 of the production floor supervisors, and every one of them had an assignment. Okay, we're thinking about doing this, and it looks like there are 5 companies there offering that product or this process, so go around, talk to each one of them, and when we get back, we're going to sit down and everybody's going to report on what they found. And and you don't have to change what you're doing, the way you're doing things, but you also don't want to be left behind. So get out to a trade show this year. And Aaron, I have a little add-on to this. I have a message for vendors. We get it.
Tune in.
We get it. Yeah, tune in. Exactly right. You got through COVID without trade shows, so you think you can keep doing that. But your competitors are back at the shows, and new customers are not going to know who you are going forward if you say, I'm just going to wait and see. I'm going to save those, tens of thousands of dollars from not going to shows. But here's what's going to happen. All of a sudden, your sales are going to dip, and you're like, what happened? And guess what? Nobody knows who you are anymore. And so then you're in catch-up mode, and your hair's on fire, like you were mentioning. And so vendors, you need to step up again. And
I agree.
Trade shows are probably how you got where you are. And deciding that I'm just going to sit on my hands because I didn't go to trade shows during COVID. Well, guess what? Nobody did.
Yeah.
But your competitors are back there. So anyway, that's my soapbox.
I love that. I appreciate you getting on that soapbox, because I'm standing behind you going, yes, I'm shaking the pom pom going, Terry's right. Like, but I think that's really important. And it just, you can't, we've tried, right? We've seen it. But this in-person opportunity is huge. So from both sides, let's get back there. Let's get back to making it a meeting place. And there's plenty of opportunities to do that, you guys. So don't sleep on some of the other shows, the Graphics Pro, the DAX shows. Obviously we're all aware of Printing United, but let's get back to those shows. So I will see you guys there at those shows. How about that? All right, Terry. Well, let's keep moving here. You ready for my next one?
I am. Let's hear.
Okay. So this one's kind of more of a formula. Clarity plus confidence plus action equals business success. So let me explain. Right. So first off, clarity, right? It comes from being aligned with who we are, things that I talk about all the time with the partners I work with, strengths, values, and passions. When you're aligned with that, it feels like you've greased the rails. And so you have all this clarity. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And it also comes from having some different perspectives, right? Like sometimes we're so close to it, we can't, what's the saying? Can't see the forest for the trees, right? And so having some additional perspective, whether that's outside perspective or just allowing yourself time to step back, that'll get you more clarity. And then just being intentional, right? Like there's a world out there on social media, on YouTube, and the ads that you're being fed on Facebook of, you need to do this, you should do this, 10x this, I'm this guru, do what I do, and you're going to be successful. Well, okay. That could be true. It was true for them for sure. But is that true for you? I think a lot of times we still end up being sheeple. And we just want to, that guy's really smart and he's really loud. Let's go follow him. And I get that, right? I understand that too, but you have to take it all with, how does this work for me? Right. And if they're not willing to answer the question why, then you probably want to move on. So that's the clarity side. Confidence. We think confidence is, you're just born with this self-confidence. Terry's a really confident guy. He just came that way, right? Out of the womb, so to speak. But the reality is our confidence comes from surviving a risk. We did something that maybe was a little bit uncomfortable and we managed it. We achieved it. Maybe we got better at it, right? Like when you first started speaking, Terry, like I've always looked up to you as somebody to emulate from a speaking perspective. But when you first started speaking, you've told the story about how nervous you were and probably where Two Regular Guys' voice came from, our name came from, right?
Right, exactly.
You had that kind of like nervousness and you made a joke to try to break the tension. And so it just get out there. And the only way we can survive a risk, that's where the third part comes in. And this is where most people maybe don't focus enough, is from action. We have to do the thing. You had to get up there on stage, right? I was super nervous. I didn't know how to take that risk. And so I leaned into Terry and I said, hey, can we do some seminars together? Now I can't wait to get out there and do it again. I want to get more people in front of me. It doesn't mean I don't get nervous before it, but I've done it enough that I have confidence that I'll figure out a way to get through it. So just taking more action, do more things. When in doubt, take an action. But what if it's not right? Then you'll learn that, right? So just take the action is what I always say. Now, real quick, Terry, to kind of close this up, because I know we got time, but the practical application of this idea of clarity plus confidence plus action equals success is to kind of flip the script, right? A lot of times we're kind of squinting for more clarity. We're trying to summon up this false confidence, fake fire, I call it sometimes. And then we kind of tiptoe gingerly into action. My suggestion is flip it, take action, dive right in. It doesn't have to be massive, huge action. Just take action and take as many actions as you can and let those actions give you more confidence. And you can do that by celebrating successes and then allow that confidence to give you more clarity as to what the next step is. Because once you get in action, you're going to see, next step here, right? And so one action that I might just invite people real quick here, I do a business assessment with folks, and it's a no strings attached, no cost type deal. I just love being able to share some of these things that I've learned. And so if you'll go to osg.link/SVP, you can sign up to have that assessment. And just taking that action right there, I think is going to give you some confidence and clarity. We'll have a really quick 30-minute conversation. So I'm not asking for a ton of your time. And you'll get value out of it. I know, because I've been told by the people that have taken that action. But I know a lot of people on here that I'm going, okay, where are you at? Let's do this. Right. So as our friends at Nike would say, right, just do it.
I have a very quick example here for you,
Yep.
and Aaron, you've heard this before. Because I only have 8 stories, I just dress them different ways. But the customer that called me and said, "I know you don't remember me. I was in your class 3 years ago, and I'm getting out of the business, and I was wondering if you could help me connect with people coming to your class that might want to buy my screen printing equipment." And I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry you're getting out of the business, but yeah, I'll be happy to bring that up in the class. Just email me what you have and what you're looking for." And she says, "Make sure you tell them it's all brand new." And I'm like, "Wait, you were in class 3 years ago, and your equipment's all brand new?" I said, "What have you been doing for 3 years?" "Market research." He needed to hear you say, "Just do it."
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
By the way, somebody got a smoking deal on that equipment.
I bet they did. Absolutely. And somebody took a pretty big loss on that. Right.
Yeah.
So,
I was standing in front of the class talking about this and giving the example about just do it,
yeah.
and somebody in the back of the class had walked out. I thought they were going to the bathroom. And he goes, "No need for you guys to call him. I just bought all that equipment." I wasn't done talking about it.
Wow. All right. There you
That
go.
was a just do it guy.
Yeah, he was just do a guy. I like it. I like it. Just bought it. There's actually, I've seen this happen. I haven't done it in any of my presentations, but like where one of those kind of, I know Jack Canfield does this, for example, and he'll hold up, whatever, probably for him, $100 bill. And it's like, who wants this? And everybody raises their hand and then they start cheering. And inevitably, though, finally somebody just gets up, goes, walks, and takes it out of his hand. And he goes, "There you go. All right. Just take action, right? Go get
I love it.
yeah." So, all right. Terry, let's get to your next one, please.
Yeah. Okay. Mine is my next one. And my last one here is clean slate for your production floor in 2025. So this is almost like spring cleaning in the last week of 2024 and first week in 2025.
Yeah.
You might find yourself limping, struggling with equipment that's past its prime, making production more difficult, time consuming. You're losing money. Let me use the screen printing shop as an example.
Yeah.
Squeegees last a long time, but over time they need to be replaced. Go look through all your squeegees this next week and toss what needs to be tossed and buy new. Squeegees are not very expensive, so replace the ones that I have to turn it this way because there's a nick on the other side of it. Throw that away. Do you have screens in your inventory that are less than ideal tension? It's time to replace those. And many of your suppliers will take aluminum frames as a trade-in. So you can, that $25 screen, a lot of times you can trade in the old ones and buy a replacement for $15. So are there inks, chemicals, supplies on a shelf that have a 1/4 inch thick dust on top? You know what? Clean up, clear them out, get rid of them. And take your exposure calculator. Screen printers know what that is. That's how you test your exposure times. You know what? Pull that out and test your exposure unit to see if your exposure times are right. If things have changed, you've changed emulsions, things like that, then your exposure times might be changing, and you don't know why you're having pinhole issues or things like that. It takes you 10 minutes to pull out an exposure calculator and test to make sure that you're still in the right exposure time. I tell people to do it every 6 months. Most people do it every 6 years. So, do that. This is true of any type of decorating business.
Yeah.
So, make your own list of things to test, replace, clean up to start a new year. So we're going to start 2025 with a clean slate.
That's
So
perfect. Yeah. I mean,
my last one.
as you're sharing that, right, I'm thinking, okay, well, Eric can probably tell us specifics, but I'm sure there's plenty of things, maintenance on your embroidery machine, maintenance, make sure you've got like I've got a DTG. It does not get a lot of use, right? And I've got some ink sitting down there that maybe has some dust on it, but I don't want to put that stuff in my DTG machine. It's going to make that machine obsolete, right? So,
Right.
those are really good points, Terry. So thank you for sharing that.
Okay,
Yeah.
what's your last one?
All right, last one here. Well, we mentioned goal getters from last year. I said I want to take this to the next step, so I want to go a little bit deeper. And a goal getter is somebody who achieves what they set out to do. And so we talked about being specific, but here's some things to kind of add to the mix. You need to create a plan that is a cue-based plan. We need to also look at the pursuit of our goals as fun. As I mentioned, we kind of get this big goal and then we're like so gripped tight on it that it becomes this overwhelming, oh my gosh, I have to do all these things every day. It really should be a passion of yours. You should feel like you get to do it every day, right? So creating your plan and focus on what becomes a get to as opposed to more have tos. Staying flexible, right? I mentioned sometimes we have to renegotiate some things. Just life is going to happen, right? So it doesn't make you a failure just because you have to renegotiate and be flexible. We talked about sharing it with people, but I think we need to get even a little bit more intentional and have that social support network. And then what we just talked about with my previous one, Terry, taking action. We always miss that part, right? We got the greatest plan and then it sits there and we go, why is my goal not here? Can't I just think that into existence, right? I believe in the law of attraction 100%, but I know that it doesn't mean I can just sit there and think it into existence. I have to take the action, right? So is your goal specific? Can a third party easily see if you've reached it or not? Right. So if you told me what your goal was and I go, oh, okay, interesting, don't really understand it, right? Then you got to fix that. Right? And I mentioned cue-based. So your goals need to have a formula to it. What is the process to get there? I want to grow my business. Okay, great. How are you going to do that? What are the cues? Okay, new customers, growing my existing business. Rena talked about that, right? We're focusing more. I think it was Rena who mentioned that, focusing more on growing the size. No, that was Sheila. Size of orders, that type of thing. So make it fun. I talked about that already a little bit. Have to versus get to. Just let go of the result. I think for me, what I've found, the more tightly I grip onto the result, the less close I get to it. As soon as I let go of the result and just have fun with it, like I'm amazed how quickly I get there. Be flexible, give yourself grace, have that social support system. I would certainly, obviously this is more, I'm biased, but I would recommend a program like my Masters of Success Mastermind program. I was just talking to one of them the other day, Terry, and when she started with us 2.5 years ago, they had just bought out a local competitor and they were doing annual sales of $36,000. And this year they are, in early December, they broke $600,000.
Oh, that's awesome.
When she told me, I thought she said 360,000 was her starting point. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So you kind of doubled, almost doubled. And she's like, no, 36,000. I'm like, oh, wow. And then it's just that consistent action, building that plan. And I guess if I were to say consistent action, the big thing that I would encourage people to take action, especially when you don't feel like it. not, I don't feel like it, so maybe I'll take an action. Like if you don't feel like it, that is actually to me a sign that you need to take action because that'll bring you clarity. So
Aaron, I wrote down my goal and it's not happening. This thing isn't working. For the podcast listeners, I'm holding up my junior yellow legal pad.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So I guess question for all of the listeners here, Terry, what are your plans for 2025? What are you going to accomplish? What are we going to look back and celebrate together this time next year? Right.
And a takeaway here is a lot of our listeners are probably hadn't even thought about what is my plan for 2025. So,
Yep. All right. Well, Terry, can I share what I've got coming up here because it kind of fits in here a little bit, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
we'll get
absolutely.
to you, and I can share Eric's. So obviously, you guys can tell I'm really passionate about this goal setting thing. So I've got a webinar series coming up here. It'll be January 9th and 10th, maybe. We're still trying to get but you can go ahead and sign up and we'll get you all the details. And it'll be recorded. There's no charge to it. So oursuccessgroup.com/goal-2-reality. I'll have a short link for that coming up. But just go over there and sign up for it, even if you don't know the times, you're not sure you can make it. It's free, it's recorded. Now, I will have a workshop the next week after that. In fact, I'm going to have 4 different time slots so we can try to cover everybody. But we will build those plans, those Q-based formulas, those things. I'm going to give you all the information and even give you a workbook that you can do this on your own. People are like, this seems crazy, Aaron, that you're like giving away this stuff. I don't know how else to fulfill my mission if I don't do that. Right now, I know action takers are going to want to have that support because they're going to want to have that by the next week so they can actually get into action. The people that maybe aren't ready for action yet, they're going to work on it for a while. And then when they're ready to get there, then hopefully they'll come see me. But the action takers will sign up for the workshop. I'm actually doing a 50% off of the workshop, or $50 off. So it's about 50% off. The workshops are going to be $97. And if you sign up before the end of the year, it will be $47. So I'm getting all that stuff put on the website today. We've been kind of putting it all together. So just sign up and then we'll work it out together from there. And then Ant will so hang tight on that. We'll get that after. The other thing I wanted to share, Small Business Saturday happening tomorrow. I try to do it every Saturday at noon. My wife will be with me tomorrow. And if you go over to liveosg.com, you can check that out. Terry, this week, we're kind of continuing the conversation from last week, but we're adding some pieces, some essential actions / tasks that you should schedule instead of just clutter up your to-do list. I've had a lot of great feedback from folks that took what we talked about last week to heart and how that's changing the way that they're looking at 2025 and their business and stuff like that. So tune in tomorrow for that. And then the last thing I'll share is just join us over at our Facebook page, osg.link/group. And you'll see all this stuff that I'm talking about in there, plus lots of other great conversations about lots of different things. How do you guys do this? It's just a great place for entrepreneurs to kind of come together knowing that it's a safe, non-judgmental space where we're looking for solutions, not blaming, complaining, and making excuses all the time. So that try to get all that out quickly because I know we're in bonus time. But Terry, what do you got coming up here?
Well, I do have to say first, all my Christmas shopping is done. So bam. My complete screen printing business course. My next class at Workhorse Products here in Phoenix is February 1st and 2nd. My next class in Chicago is at Atlas Screen Supply. That will be March 15th and 16th. I'm hoping it won't be snowing still. And I'm going to be at the Impressions Long Beach show next month. I'm going to be talking about DTG and DTF printing, which technology is right for you. All my upcoming events you can find at terrycombs.com. How about Eric?
All right. Eric's got the take up today, episode 211, and year-end review, skills, shops, and shows. So I got to really enlist Eric to help name our shows. He does such a good job. So in this week's episode, he's going to talk about the process of conducting a year-end review with an eye towards improvement, stopping along the way to celebrate some wins and set foundations for next year's plans. From skill building to shop management to education, we'll cover some of the best of this year's machine embroidery and digitizing lessons and celebrate what we've managed on the take up for good measure. So join him at 2:30 Mountain Time to discuss and share your year. If you'll go over to ericcampbell.com, ERICH Campbell.com, you can find out all the details and tune in, check out all the previous episodes. Also, you will be able to find Eric at the Impressions Expo in January in Long Beach, California. He's going to be teaching both technique toolkits and embroidery RX. So I'm envisioning Eric in a doctor's coat with the stethoscope, and no, okay, no, not happening. All right, well,
A little embroidered E-Rich on there.
yeah, that's right. But no, you definitely want to get out there. If you get a chance to hang out, see Eric, learn from him in person, there's nothing better. Go over to impressionsexpo.com and you can get more information and see him out there. But make sure you tune into the Take Up this afternoon.
The Take Up perfect continuation of our show today.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Speaking of continuation of our show today, we're ready for the secret sauce. So those folks that have gone into bonus time with us here, congratulations. You are going to be treated with an amazing secret sauce. You ready for that, Terry?
Absolutely. Let's hear it.
Hey folks, here for the secret sauce, and today it is all about staying inspired in embroidery. For those of you looking for inspiration on how to expand your skills or refine your current embroidery work, there's 5 exercises I'm going to recommend that might be helpful in refining your goals and getting some actionable steps. Now, first one is swatch testing. You should create a file that methodically tests one setting in your digitized files, so you can see how that variable affects designs. Run multiple swatches of a stitch type, let's say tatami fill, with one variable like density altered from swatch to swatch, so you can see the effect of the said variable at work. Common swatch tests like density examinations that you've seen, but do underlay type tests, fill pattern tests, and compensation tests too. If you've ever been curious about what a setting or a slider or a number does in your software, make a few swatches, change that number, and get it on the machine. There's nothing like that experience to teach you exactly what's going on. Other things that I'd like to talk about also, I think we should talk about materials. If you aren't really clear on how materials work or materials affect your embroidery, get those under the machine. Material mastery. To learn what needs to be done for designs to compensate for these differences in fabrics, grab this well-known digitized design, something you have that you know runs well on a material you're used to, and run the same design in the same colors on multiple fabrics that are common in your shop. Measure elements in your digital design and see how they have changed in those stitch outs. Analyze that stuff. By measuring those items in thread and taking notes, you'll increasingly be able to adjust designs for any texture or thickness or stretch. Next example, redefine relationships. And what I mean here is relationships between different stitch types and settings when they're adjacent, when 2 objects run into each other. That interaction is something we actually kind of plan for, and it makes our digitizing better. Think of the most common 3 stitch types and explore how they interact with each other and how the parameters of each stitch type can affect the outcome of the design. The 3 types, fill or tatami stitch, a satin stitch or running stitch, we can examine the intersection of bringing those steps together. How does a fill look next to or touching another fill? Does it come together or blend because the stitch angles are the same, or can we offset those angles to stop that blending from happening? What happens if we change that angle? Practice simple combinations like a satin stitch element with straight stitch outlines, a fill with a satin border, overlap satin stitches that fill an area. When you can master pull and push distortion, you can understand those interactions between the basic pairs, the fill, 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 satin, satin, and running, running. You'll have tremendous control over the most simple and basic building block elements of your designs and be able to build more complex designs from that understanding and control. The next thing I recommend heavily, self-directed projects. This is something that we should all be doing, and certainly I feel like I want to do a little bit more myself this year. Create something for yourself, but with an eye towards skill building and goals. A great version of this is to create a piece that is useful for demonstrating a decoration type, maybe something new that you're trying to do. You're trying to do foam, you're trying to do gradients, you're trying to work on some specialty embroidery you haven't done before, or using a new thread. Do a piece for yourself that shows that material or that design scheme or that type to them, featuring art or themes that you enjoy. As you are the client for this work, the pressure on this learning experience is lessened by the fact that you're the ultimate judge of what works and how it looks good. You're looking to add patches to your offering, but people haven't ordered that yet. Make an awesome patch for shop merch and show that within the styles your customer is likely to order. Want to try a new thread material or technique? Look up instructions, buy sample material, and try it out on a self-directed project that matches the type of stitching you want to achieve. And last but not least, analysis, reproduction, and remixing. Take a piece of embroidery or digitized design that you love and tear it apart, learn how it works. This may even include physically breaking down a retail embroidered piece. I have taken a razor blade to a very nice, very new piece of embroidery to look at what the underlay looked like or what materials were used in order to support that embroidery. Look at how long stitches are, what angle they are laid down, materials it uses, and how they are employed. If you have a design file, look at the settings the creator used by measuring stitch angle, length, and density of stitch blocks, as well as looking at the overlaps and the underlay style. Analyze and take notes, then reproduce the design as close as you can to see if you have the settings right. Once you've replicated this known design and the elements you're interested, pick something about the design or the style that you love and alter it. Take what you've learned in the settings and use it on an entirely new design in the style of the original, and then you will really master the techniques. All in all, this is really about getting yourself into the habit of experimentation. And whether that's with self directed projects, with analyzing and copying something, or with tearing something apart to see how it works, really what I would recommend to everybody is to, once again, kind of like Aaron talked about earlier in this show, let go a little bit of those results and get out there and test, take some action, and get things on the machine. There is nothing like seeing things in the thread to make it work. So with that, that is my last secret sauce.
I hope he means his last secret sauce for the year, because like, did we say something? Did Terry, did you offend him?
I did say E-Rich, so probably.
What a cool secret sauce, and lays it out nicely. Five easy things that you can do right there. Rena says Eric speaks a different language, but somehow it's so intriguing. All right. Well, Terry, we've come to the close of another show. This has been amazing. Thanks for joining us on our annual show. If you are tuned in here, I'd love to hear what you're going to implement. Just leave it in the comments. You might inspire somebody else, and just excited to see how the regulators 2025 is going to be an amazing year for all of us. So looking forward to next year already, Terry.
Absolutely. And we want to thank our show producer, Eric Campbell, for obviously the secret sauce today, but another year of pushing the buttons and turning the dials and keeping us on the air. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, it's amazing. Can't appreciate him enough. And thank you to Terry for all the amazing years. Next year is going to be our 13th season together. This is going to be crazy, huh? All right. Speaking of next year, Terry, our next show will be on January 10th. So you get a little time off here. We get a little time off, and you guys can just go back into the archives and maybe go watch all the secret sauces or different things like that. But make sure that you are tuned in on January 10th. This is another favorite show of ours, 10 things we'd like to see in 2025, kind of the crystal ball show. And we do a review. What did we say last year? And what I already snuck a peek in there, Terry, and I think we did pretty good last year, actually. So.
I think we did too. I didn't go back and look, but I know one for a fact. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So from all of us here at Two Regular Guys, Terry, myself, Eric, and all regulators out there, just wishing each and every one of you guys a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year.
All right. Until 2025, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
And that was the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Two Regular Guys. We're here because of listeners like you, and we're so grateful to have you on this journey with us. For more valuable insight, be sure to visit our website, 2regularguys.com, and join the conversation on our Facebook page. And hey, if you or someone you know has expertise, a unique perspective, or a story worth sharing, we'd love to have them as a guest on the show. Just reach out. Remember, success in this industry isn't just about the equipment you own or the techniques you've mastered. It's about the mindset you bring and the connections you build. Keep learning, stay curious, and don't be afraid to think differently. Keep pressing on, and we'll catch you on the next episode of